Welcome back to Money Matters. I'm Emily Johnson, and as I mentioned in the opening, today we're going to be discussing how the stars manage their money. And in doing some research on this segment, I basically Googled wealth advice from the rich and famous, wealth advice from celebrities, and you would be amazed at the massive amount of very interesting advice that our celebrities, whether they be athletic celebrities, musical celebrities, everyone from Lady Gaga to Bill Belichick has financial advice when asked what their greatest financial tip is. So I decided to focus on two of the main themes, actually three, I guess, of the main themes that I saw over and over again, and just focus on two specific individuals. But as I said, these themes came up over and over again as I was looking for inspiration on how the rich and famous manage their money and what some of their key tips are. So to get started, here's somebody that everybody knows and loves, or hopefully loves. I don't know if you all love LeBron James, but I love LeBron James. And he, of course, is well known when it comes to discussing his finances and a lot of the financial decisions that he makes. But what is also interesting are some of the smaller facts that he doesn't necessarily talk about as much. So one of the most interesting quotes that I heard him say was, I don't like to take advice because experience is the best teacher. And I think that we can all relate to that in one way or another, whether it be from a financial advice perspective or not. And he certainly has made the best of that experience. And he says that he is the self-proclaimed cheapest player in basketball. So his number one theme is basically being a frugal money vigilante. Some examples of that are that despite his massive fortune, I think he made about $86 million in 2017, he refuses to pay for mobile apps. He uses the free Pandora app, and he also takes the roaming off of his cell phone so that he doesn't have to pay extra data charges. Now I'm thinking that he can certainly afford to pay for these things, but he is the definition of what we call a money vigilante, and that's just basically a personality type that focuses on down to the core of taking care of his money and really valuing the dollar. And how did he get that way? Well, as he says, as a young boy, his uncles taught him to save a portion of every single dollar that they gave him. So he started doing that, whether it was in, under his bed or in a bank account. He started doing that at a very, very early age, and that's a value that he has now taken with him with all of his massive success that he has. So I think the biggest takeaway is not just that he's a money vigilante, but what that means is that you have a real value-based view of money. He definitely has a strong value-based view of his money. And we've talked about this before when it comes to putting together a financial plan. One of the core aspects of a financial plan is understanding what you value when it comes to your money. Is it long-term peace of mind? Is it investing in education? What is it that you value, and how can you use your money towards supporting that value? And he definitely epitomizes that value-oriented aspect of his money. So what can we take away from this? Well, number one is we can talk to our kids about money values, not just about money and how much they spend and how much is coming out of our pocket and what happened to that last 20 that was in my wallet, but really talk to them about money values in a non-threatening, open, evolving values type way, because obviously small kids are not going to understand as much as older kids are. So starting really slow and answering age-appropriate questions is really key, but doing it in a value-oriented way, perhaps an either-or. Does the child want X, or would he rather wait and save for Y? And how is that decision made? Be honest with the children, talk about their values, not figures, and set perhaps relatable goals as they get older. These are just some of the basic aspects of teaching kids about money in a value-oriented way, just as LeBron learned. And so interesting that 69% of parents actually say that they don't talk to their kids about money. So not only are we not teaching our kids about money in school and personal finance and the basics of personal finance, we're not talking about it at home either. So it's not a surprise that we as a nation have so many financial woes at a grassroots level. So one takeaway from the LeBron James money management tip is talk to your kids about money values. Start there, and hopefully they can take that with them for the rest of their life. The next takeaway from LeBron James, this was pretty interesting, and it's not overly surprising, I'm sure, for most of you, is that he has multiple income streams. So of course you're saying, well, yes, he makes $86 million a year playing basketball, and then he also has endorsement money coming in. All very true, and I realize that that is not necessarily an option for all of us out there. However, he also, in addition to that, is just an entrepreneur. As a young kid, there are great stories about him, of course, starting up the standard lemonade stands and that type of thing. But he also started a marketing and a sports representation agency when he was just a kid with his neighborhood buddies. That probably ended up working out pretty well for some of them. So he was entrepreneurial, and he was looking for different ways to earn money and he still is doing that even with his salary coming in. So what is the purpose of doing that, and why is that something that we should also consider? Well, obviously, we never know what's going to come next, right? And you hear this from players in the NFL, you hear it from pretty much anybody, but especially athletes at this high level. They don't know when they're going to be injured. They don't know when that contract is going to stop. So they have to make the most of those funds that they're earning when they're earning them, and then hopefully have other income streams to supplement that so that if one gets shut down, they're able to keep going. And that's the same is true for us. So even if we have a W-2 income, if we're working part-time, those types of jobs can go away in a flash, whether it be because of a bad economy or because of a car wreck. I mean, life happens. So being prepared for life's inevitable ups and downs is something that we have to do. And one way to do it is by having multiple income streams. If you want to be self-reliant, I mean, obviously if you have multiple income households, etc., this changes up a little bit, but having multiple income streams is imperative. So how can you do that? Let's see if I've got it here. Yes, here we go. So the way to do that is to think about your income as a portfolio. So you're all used to looking, I'm sure we've looked at this before. If this is your first time looking at the show, this is a pie chart of an asset allocation. So we're going to look at it a little bit differently this time. And when we're talking about multiple income streams, we want to diversify our income streams the exact same way we want to diversify our investments. And the reason is because greater diversification allows for risk reduction. It allows for changes to different asset classes as the economy might ebb and flow. So let's say, for example, you have a full-time job working in food and beverage industry, and we have a downturn in the economy. This is not a big surprise, but you also have a second job that you're working online doing graphic arts that may or may not be impacted the same way. So each of these pieces of your income portfolio, of your income pie, are going to be impacted differently, and one can step up, just like what happens when you have investments. One can step up should the other one start to fall down. So a couple of examples: if you have a full-time job, get a side hustle, something that you can do at night, something that you can do in your pajamas, so that you have a little bit of extra income coming in, and see if it's possible to pocket that extra income so that it's there as a cushion should something actually happen to your W-2 job. Another, income producing investments, real estate investments. I'm sure you hear about a lot of that on WHHI. Passive income strategies. One of LeBron's most famous ones is Beats. He was one of the earliest investors in Beats, and he ended up taking away from that investment about $30 million, I believe. I think it was the highest equity investment, highest equity return investment for an athlete thus far in history. So that was a pretty darn good investment. Whether we have access to something like Beats at an early level or something else, that type of investment, that sort of long-term investment, is another form of an investment like a portfolio. So looking at your income as a portfolio, the more the more income streams you have, the less risk that you're going to be taking on, the less stress that you're going to have, the less stress for your family, and always that's a greater opportunity to put more of that money away. So here's a few of our examples. There's lots and lots of resources out there for you. If you have any questions about that, give me a call. We certainly have plenty that we can send out to you. So stick with us. We'll be right back with one more star-studded example of money management tips. We'll be right back with more Money Matters.